One weekend night in November 2015, my 7-year-old son, Alex, invited 4 of his friends over for a sleepover. At the time, my wife was out of the house, so I had to keep an eye on them without making them feel anxious. It was clear that they were all gathered in Alex's room, making a lot of noise. When things started to get too quiet or too loud, I would sneak up to the bedroom door to listen to what was happening. It might sound strange, but this was my wife's instruction, and every wise husband knows not to go against his wife's orders. As I approached the door, I heard them playing with Legos and other toys quite loudly, so I went back to the living room to watch TV. However, suddenly I heard strange noises like knocking coming from Alex's room. I turned off the TV and realized that the sound was coming from a window. I thought, as long as they were having fun without breaking anything, it was fine. I turned the TV back on, but the atmosphere suddenly became very silent from Alex's room. A wave of anxiety began to wash over me, as it was very unusual for them to be so quiet. I snuck back to the door of Alex's room and listened. I could hear giggles and soft whispers inside. Out of curiosity, I opened the door and looked in, seeing the 4 boys sitting on the carpet with toys scattered everywhere. I noticed the window was wide open and told them to close it and to keep the noise down before I closed the door again. However, while I was in the bathroom, I caught a glimpse of something suspicious moving past the window. I ran back to the room and told the 4 boys not to go outside. That's when I realized there were only 4 kids in the room instead of 5. Alex's friend, Ben, was missing. In a panic, I shouted at Alex to tell me where he was, and they all pointed to the open window. Alex said that Ben had gone with a pirate to search for treasure. At that moment, a mix of anxiety hit my stomach. I knew I wouldn't be able to fit through that window. I ran out the front door and saw a man holding Ben's hand leading him toward a car. I yelled at him to stop. They turned around, and the man let go of Ben, jumped into a brown Toyota Corolla, and sped off down the street. I ran to grab Ben and brought him back inside. The comfort of the sleepover was gone, and I immediately called all the parents to inform them of what had happened and suggested they come pick up their kids. They all did, and although I received some criticism from Ben's parents at first, they eventually thanked me, and Ben remained good friends with my son. All the boys said that a man had come to Alex's window, knocked on it, opened it himself, and spoke in a pirate voice, asking one of them to come with him to find treasure. The fact that this happened in my own home, which was supposed to be safe, was the most disturbing part. Meanwhile, my friends and I, including Mia and David, felt the need to find something to do. We knew there was a forest near Mia's house that could be reached by a short walk. With our adventurous spirits, we thought it would be the perfect place to smoke and explore. Looking back, I wish we had just smoked behind Mia's house and watched a scary movie instead. After entering the forest, we smoked and had fun. However, as we were near the edge of the woods, we saw a bluish-gray Chevy pickup truck that started following us. Every time we stopped, the truck would stop too. We hid behind a small hill, and after the truck passed, we started laughing and walked out of the forest, thinking it was just a joke. But as we neared the exit, we were all engulfed in fear when we saw headlights blocking our way out. We exchanged glances, wondering what to do. Looking into the truck, I saw a large man wearing a hat and a red shirt, but that was all I could see from afar. In a panic, David pulled out a small pocket knife, but I wasn't confident in his ability to use it, so I took the knife from him as we all ran deeper into the woods until we felt safe. We waited for a moment to gather our thoughts and breath before finally leaving the forest and heading back to Mia's house. This happened at the end of our first year of high school, and we had avoided that forest for months. However, on September 10th, Mia's birthday, we decided to go back one last time. There were 6 girls and 2 boys, so we thought it would be fine considering our numbers and safety. Once we entered the forest and walked for a while, we found a path. Mia and David had seen that path before but had never tried it. To reach the path, we had to go down a small, steep hill, but we all managed to make it down. As soon as we reached a fork in the path, we chose to go left. It was a short path leading to a small building that looked abandoned, with a wooden staircase and a small fireplace. However, the strangest thing we found was a saw hanging from tree to tree. Considering we were all likely a bit tipsy, we didn't take that discovery as seriously as we should have. We decided to continue exploring down the right side of the fork in the path. Not far down the path, we came across something truly horrifying. A structure that looked like a gallows, complete with a noose and an old pair of shoes nearby. I had never felt so uncomfortable in my life. We took pictures of everything and quickly left the forest safely, making a personal vow never to return. We believed the person who had chased us in the pickup truck was somehow connected to what we found in the woods, and we were just grateful that he didn't catch us. Now, I'm 27 years old, living alone in a small town in Virginia, just a couple of blocks from my parents. My parents are in their 60s, and my mom has become quite a worrying woman in her old age. Sometimes she walks in uninvited and lets herself in because, unfortunately, I had given her a key. This can be a bit annoying, especially if I'm out late on weekends at bars or with women. Sometimes I come home to find my mom sitting in the living room, waiting, very worried. I know you might think, "Oh God, that's crazy, why not just tell her to stop?" But you don't know my mom. It's hard to describe her. She's the type of person who worries and is a sweet, innocent woman you can't argue with, and I hate to mention it, but she also suffers from mild dementia. Anyway, it was a Saturday night, around 2 a.m., and I was at a club with a group of college friends, the only hangout in this boring town. As I was getting ready to head home, I said goodbye to all my friends and walked 3 blocks back to my house. I climbed the front porch in a drunken state and reached into my pocket for my keys when I noticed the front door was unlocked. My mom was here again. I quietly opened and closed the front door, locking it behind me. I placed my keys on the kitchen table and found a handwritten note from my mom saying, "You left this at our house," next to a half-eaten cake box from my parents. I didn't see my mom anywhere, so I assumed she had gone upstairs to sleep in the guest bed until I got back, which was something she often did. Then I heard footsteps above, confirming my assumption. That's when I freaked out. Here I was, 27 years old, almost 3 a.m., and she still had to wait up for me and treat me like a child. I ran upstairs to check the guest bed, which was empty, along with all the bathrooms. I was scared my mom was having one of her episodes due to her condition, so I ran for the phone to call my dad. After 4 rings, my dad answered groggily, asking what was wrong. After I told him I heard my mom wandering around upstairs in my house, there was a brief pause, and then he said, "That's impossible. She's sleeping right next to me." My mouth dropped open as I turned to face the darkness upstairs, and with only the light from the kitchen, I could see a head peeking from the corner at the top of the stairs looking down at me. I screamed into the phone as I ran out the front door and down the street to my parents' house, explaining to my dad on the way. Midway, my dad said, "Okay, I'll call the police," and hung up. I made it to my parents' house, where my mom was waiting at the door, very worried. She explained that she had come over to tidy my kitchen a bit and brought cake. They didn't want 2 police cars stopping in front of my parents' house, as they escorted me and my dad down the street to my house. One officer stayed outside with us while 2 others went inside to investigate. It felt like 15 minutes before they came back outside and said everything was clear. They checked the basement, the attic, everything was there, and there was nothing to report except that I had left my door unlocked and I saw the outline of a head upstairs before I ran out. But I still didn't feel safe sleeping there that night, so I returned to my parents' house. My dad was convinced that my mom forgot to lock the door when she left because her memory had been getting worse in recent months. He banned her from coming over alone from now on, which made me sad but also relieved. Some nights, I still feel paranoid that whoever was in my house that night never left and is still hiding here somewhere.